Good morning, Thailand. My name is Alex, and I have some news updates from around Thailand for you today, this Monday, October 28th. Now, today we will be talking about the U.S. election's effect on the Thai economy, some air quality problems that are plaguing Bangkok and beyond, and a little later we'll have some updates on the deadly typhoon that has ravaged the Philippines. But first, our main story. We're talking about Phuket's tourism tax, which is not supposed to affect foreign residents and workers. Phuket's upcoming tourism tax, set for early next year, will not apply to foreigners residing or working in Thailand. The Ministry of Tourism and Sports clarified that the tax's specifics are yet to be finalized and have not been presented to the cabinet, meaning potential changes could occur. The tax will primarily target short-term tourists with exemptions for those holding non-immigrant or immigrant visas or valid work permits. Now, the Ministry of Transport advises keeping informed about any updates to the policy as it develops. So the cash grab is on, but fortunately, if you are living and working here in Thailand, you won't have to pay that fee every time you enter and exit. They already get you, though. It's something that I've learned since I've been on a working visa here in Thailand, is that I need to get re-entry permits every time I leave, and that's 1,200 baht, not 300. So maybe I'd be happier if I just had to pay that tourism tax instead. But yeah, it doesn't matter. They're going to get you either way. All right, moving on. Like I said, I got to get through this show quick today, so we got a lot of stories. Now, our next story has to do with the Thai baht, which has been a source of controversy lately. It's been going up and down and all over the place, but apparently the U.S. election will have an effect. Now, the Thai baht may weaken if Trump does, in fact, win the U.S. election. Analysts predict the Thai baht could further weaken if Donald Trump wins the U.S. presidency, possibly dropping below 34.5 against the dollar. The baht recently fell to 33.8 due to capital outflows as stronger U.S. bond yields and the dollar's performance impact regional currencies. Rising U.S. Treasury yields and election uncertainties are driving investors towards safer assets like the dollar and gold. Now, while Capricorn Research forecasts U.S. rate cuts, Thailand's Monetary Policy Committee is expected to hold domestic rates steady, reflecting local economic conditions. Investors anticipate market recovery post-election. So yes, no matter who wins, things become more stable, right? So one of the things that markets don't like is the uncertainty that comes with not knowing who's going to actually win out in the upcoming election, which is still a dead heat in terms of national polls, rocking 48-48, I believe, as of the last election. Now, of course, in the U.S. election, those national polls don't matter. It's all about what happens in the swing states. So time will tell. So interesting to see that Donald Trump was recently holding a rally in Madison Square Garden, New York City, which is solidly blue. So unclear what kind of move that is. That's a push to drive just more national attention. Certainly not going to help him too much in New York itself. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Who's going to win next week when the U.S. election finally rolls around? Moving on to our next story. Bangkok's air quality is set to worsen as PM 2.5 levels rise. Bangkok is facing a rising PM 2.5 pollution levels over the weekend, worsened by cool weather and poor air circulation, with the highest concentration recorded in Nong Kham, which reached 51.1 micrograms per cubic meter. PM 2.5 levels range from 19.5 to 53.8. I'm off this morning. Micrograms per cubic meter yesterday morning. Now, while tropical storm cyclones have hit South China Sea, they may bring rain next week to reduce the pollution. Current conditions keep air quality concerns high. Residents are advised to take precautions. Meanwhile, cooler temperatures are affecting the northern regions, and rain in Bangkok could provide temporary relief. Mask up, everybody. It is that time of year. Look, this is the time of year where up in the north, Chiang Mai starts to do their controlled burns. That's coming up. So, it's been flooding throughout the summer and the rainy season. Now we get to look forward to the smoggy season. Doesn't really let up, does it? It seems like there's just bad news again and again with the weather. So be careful, everybody. I mean, it's one of those things. We ignore it. For the most part, right? We're all sick of wearing masks, but at the same time, these things have a long-term effect. So anytime it raises to those dangerous levels, do take precautions. Your future self will thank you. All right, on to our next story. Now, if you are older and trying to retire in Thailand, then it is going to become a little more difficult. Now, Thailand is set to raise its retirement age to 65 in all sectors. Thailand's labor ministry is increasing the retirement age to 65 for both private and government sectors, citing improved life expectancy and aligning with global standards. The ministry plans to amend the Social Security Act to include migrant workers and self-employed individuals like taxi drivers and delivery riders in the Social Security system. Contributions from employers, employees, and the government will increase by a total of 6.25%. Additionally, the ministry aims to convert variable medical costs and fixed expenses by involving insurance companies. Now, investment strategies will shift, aiming for a 5% return by 2025 to extend fund viability against an aging population. So, yeah, we're getting older, everybody. I think this is not news around the world. What is news is that the retirement age was already lower, but this is a problem in a lot of Eastern countries that are having a low birth replacement rate. Places like Thailand, where, there's wealth generating, and as countries develop and become more wealthy, the birth rates go down. So there's less of a working population to be able to support the retirement of the aging population. This always ends up being a question. Is it worthy to put that burden on the people getting older and heading into their golden years? Should we find ways to spread the wealth a little bit more? And because so much wealth does appear to be concentrated at the upper echelons of society. I don't know. You let me know your thoughts in the comments, everybody. On to our next story. We have a tale of heroism. Now, a heroic driver has stopped a gunman in Phatthalung. So, in Phatthalung, a heroic driver named Prom intervened when a motorcycle rider began shooting at passing vehicles. The incident occurred on October 27th at Apai Bodirak Road. After witnessing the gunman targeting another vehicle, Prom reversed his pickup truck to ram the motorcycle, forcing the shooter to flee into a nearby forest. The damaged motorcycle was later found in a ditch along with bullet casings as evidence. Police have identified the suspect through the motorcycle's registration and are preparing to issue an arrest warrant for attempted murder. Prom and his friends were unharmed, and police continue their investigations. Springing into action, you know what I mean? You never know what you're going to do in that situation until you're finally in it. Some of us would cower in terror. Yeah, guilty. Others spring into action and try to save the day like this hero did. Thank you, Prom, for your intervention. You might have saved a life, and now the police are on the hunt. Fortunately, by breaking the bike, they've managed to find out with the registration who this guy is. Should be a quick wrap-up, I think. All right, Alfa Romeo, happy Halloween from the Great White North. Enjoy, my friend. Okay, on to our next story. This is our last one for Thailand. I got a feel good for you. You know I like to throw one in. Tourists and officials have saved an injured turtle named Kamkaew. Tourists in Mai Khang Luang, near the waterfall, helped save an injured turtle, Kamkaew, after discovering it with a cracked shell and tail wounds. Sad. They quickly alerted park officials who transported Kamkaew to a veterinary clinic over 80 kilometers away in Phrai City. After visiting multiple clinics, they found a specialist who treated Kamkaew's injuries with antibiotics, pain relief, and a temporary shell repair. The turtle's condition was not life-threatening, but did require care. The park and veterinary team's efforts were praised on social media, with plans to monitor Kamkaew's recovery until it can return to the wild. Oh, this is sweet. I like a nice feel-good story like that. 80 kilometers away, they went the extra mile, extra 80, it sounds like, in order to save this turtle. A beloved staple of the park. So, I'm not entirely sure. Can it be released back into the wild? I'm assuming it can be after it makes its recovery, but speedy recovery, Kamkaew. I hope you can make it back to your natural habitat to let people enjoy you when they go and visit your stomping grounds at the waterfall. All right, that's it for our feel-good section of the news and our Thailand section of the news. Now we're heading into our greater ASEAN region, and our first stop is going to be Malaysia. Now, there's a controversy. Flags, patriotism, this kind of stuff always gets drummed up, but it's now in Malaysia as there is backlash over Chinese flags that were presented at a cultural event reserved for the nation itself. Malaysia's communication minister, Fahmi Fadzil, has urged the public to avoid racially charged comments regarding a cultural event and to look in Tan Perak, where Chinese flags were displayed. Tisk tisk. Fahmi emphasized that the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission is monitoring social media for comments related to race, religion, and royalty, aka the 3 R's, and is working with the police to address incitement. The incident, involving a procession celebrating the Taoist deity Guangdong, is under police investigation for violating the Peaceful Assembly Act. Fahmi clarified that the issue was not discussed during the recent cabinet meeting. I don't know. This is funny. People were raising the flags. Malaysians didn't like that. They have a very distinct ethnic identity to the Chinese, with their own flag and national identity, obviously. But now, apparently from pressure, I would imagine, coming from the Chinese government itself, that there will be cracking down on social media. So this is something that Malaysia, Cambodia, tons of countries do, right, regarding those sensitive topics like race, religion, and royalty in Malaysia. So, watch your mouth, I guess. If you have an opinion on it, save it for the dinner table and don't post it, because it could get you in trouble. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Freedom of speech, not much of a thing out here in Southeast Asia. But I suppose time will tell if actual arrests will be made. Okay, on to our next story. So we got more serious stuff as the weather seems to be turning against humanity once again. Deadly flooding and landslides have hit the Philippines once more. Tropical storm Trami has caused severe flooding and landslides in the Philippines, leaving at least 85 dead and 41 missing, with the death toll expected to rise as isolated areas are reached. Rescue operations continue, particularly in Talisay, Batangas, where villagers search for missing loved ones. President Ferdinand Marcos noted that the storm brought unusually high rainfall, overwhelming flood controls in several provinces. More than 5 million people were affected, with nearly 500,000 seeking refuge in emergency shelters. While weather has improved, concerns remain that the storm may reverse course next week, posing further risks. Sorry, that was this week. Man, the Philippines just cannot catch a break. It seems like every single hurricane season, typhoon season, I guess, they get ravaged, and the poor areas of the country are unable to, even rebuild and make it more sturdy compared to last year, so that they just go through this never-ending cycle of getting absolutely demolished. And this is only going to get worse as extreme weather becomes more common, and exactly that, more extreme as we head into this climate-changing future. Hearts go out, everybody, and hopefully the rescue workers are able to identify those and find those missing people, and the death toll doesn't rise too much higher. All right, on to our next story. We've been following this one a little bit over the past couple of months as a Cambodian journalist who was jailed over trying to expose some criminal activities in the country. Well, now he's been freed after a, apology video. Wonder if there was a gun to the head. Anyways, Mech Dara, a prominent Cambodian journalist, has been released on bail after being charged with incitement earlier this month on October 1st. His arrest followed social media posts deemed provocative by the Phnom Penh Municipal Court. Dara's release came after a pro-government outlet aired a video of him apologizing to Cambodia's leaders. Human rights groups and the U.S. had criticized his detention. Now known for exposing online scam operations involving trafficked workers in Cambodia, Dara expressed gratitude upon his release but mentioned needing time to recover from his detention. His arrest highlights ongoing pressure on Cambodia's independent media. You need investigative journalism, man. This is one of the pillars of any democracy, quote unquote. You need watchdogs to be able to identify problems within society so the government can take action to improve those problems. Look, this is the thing in China, and it's something that the journalists in China have recognized, okay? You can identify problems in society, but you cannot blame the government for those problems. What you can do is put pressure on the government to create solutions for those problems by highlighting the issue. So there is a way of walking around eggshells in this media landscape to be able to achieve your goals while at the same time adhering to the principles and making sure you stay out of trouble on the other side while you're speaking truth to power. So good for him. Glad he was released. But yeah, be careful, journalists and media, when you run your mouth, because it could land you in jail. Just apologize, apparently, and maybe you'll get out. Let me know your thoughts. Anyways, moving on to our last story, because I got to get moving. Another feel-good. I think you guys will be ready for some jokes on this one, but I think it's a fun story. Indonesia is staging its first deaf musical. Guess the name? Spoilers, it is Songs of Silence. In Jakarta, the theater group Fantasy Tuli, aka Deaf Fantasy, staged Indonesia's first musical featuring mostly deaf performers, called Senandung Senyap, aka Songs of Silence. Using screens for dialogue and lyrics, actors conveyed the story through facial expressions and hand signs. The musical, directed by Hasna Mufida and Helga Teresia, highlights challenges faced by students in special needs schools and promotes equality between deaf and hearing communities. The production involved over 60 deaf actors and took 3 months to prepare. For many, including actress Hannah Aritha Octavia, the performance offered a deeper connection to sign language and the deaf community. The show aims to foster greater inclusivity and awareness about the needs of Indonesia's over 2 million people with hearing disabilities. That's sweet. I would love to actually hear that, incorporating hand signs, and of course, you gotta wonder, how are they getting the musical cues? Okay, I'll leave the jokes to you guys, but anyways, feel good story. And of course, you know, I just love to see, there's so many people with disabilities or special needs that fall through the cracks in many Asian societies. So it's very nice to see these people getting the attention and the outlet of creativity that this play offers to raise awareness for not just them, but the 2 million people with similar disabilities within the country. Interesting story. All right. Anyways, guys, I'll get into the comments in a second. Let me wrap up the show. That'll do it, guys, for our news updates from around Thailand and the greater ASEAN region. You can go to thethaiger.com for more news updates throughout the day. We post like 50 or 60 news stories throughout each day, so there's always something to read, something to catch up on, more than what you see here on social media. Also, go to ASEANnow.com, set up an account, and start a conversation over there with many like-minded expats. It is the largest expat forum here in Thailand, so give it a shot. Why not? All right, that'll do it for me. I'll be back.